This is The Clash, where the real world clashes with a true Christian worldview. Join former professional wrestler Chris Whaley, known as the Masked Saint, who is an author, pastor, and teacher that brings his wrestling skills into the squared circle and tackles real-life issues. Along with Jeff Dixon, best-selling author, internationally known teacher, leader, and pastor who is not afraid to tackle the tough issues of the world we live in. Together they form a tag team of wisdom in The Clash.
Hi, and welcome once again to The Clash. This is where we take a Christian worldview, allow it to clash into the culture around us. And when it's said and done, we want to encourage, educate, entertain, and introduce you to some folks that you might not normally get to meet and get an idea of what happens in the world around us, and hopefully you're better off by watching. I am Jeff Dixon. I'm joined by the one, the only, the masked saint without the mask, former professional wrestler, friend of yours and mine, Dr. Chris Whaley. Hey, Chris.
Man, I am joined by the best-selling author, Jeff Dixon, who has written numerous books on Disney World, and he has just done all kinds of amazing stuff. And he just allows me to, just be a sidekick on this show.
Well, and now that we've killed a half hour saying good things about ourselves, join us next week, and we'll actually do what we came out here to do today.
Yeah, there we go.
Interview, so.
Hey, I'm excited about today. About 4 years ago, I was interviewed by our guest today. She has a top 1% podcast called Better Called Daddy. Okay. She is the former producer, Jeff, of the Jerry Springer Show. Did you ever watch Jerry Springer?
Yes. Yeah. I like Jerry Springer Show. That's great fun.
Yeah. My favorite all-time Jerry Springer thing was on the Austin Powers movie. Did you ever see that?
I did see
Austin
that,
Powers,
yeah.
and they had the Klan guy and Dr. Evil. That was my favorite. Were you around when he did that?
Yes.
You were. Okay. Well,
why don't you introduce her first?
Yeah, okay.
We're already talking to her.
All right. We have. I'm just so excited to have her today. We have with us today Reena Friedman Watts, and she is just one of the most precious young ladies I think I've ever met, and I've enjoyed being her friend for about 4 years. And we just are so glad to have you, Reena. Thank you for being on our show.
Thank you. That is such a warm intro. I'm excited to be here.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start it off, Jeff.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious, how did you land your first gig as an intern on the Jerry Springer Show right out of college? And I got a second question there. What was the most surprising thing that you learned on day one?
Oh, man. Well, I worked for an NPR station in college, and I used to read the news and the weather, and I love the audio format. I wanted to actually work in radio. And I got an interview at WGN in Chicago, which was right across the courtyard from NBC Tower where Jerry was being filmed. And I interviewed there and didn't get the job. And then I saw that Jerry Springer was looking for interns. There was a flyer at WGN in the same courtyard. And so I just walked across to NBC Tower and asked if I could interview with the intern coordinator. And I ended up starting there 2 weeks later.
Oh, wow. Wow. So was there anything surprising that happened on your first day?
Oh, man. I mean, just hearing people on the phone was extremely eye-opening. I remember that so vividly. I was like, wow, these people are screaming over the telephone with excitement. And that was very contagious. It's similar to wrestling, right? You kind of got to play the role.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Jeff, go ahead.
Before we move from the Springer conversation, how long were you with the Jerry Springer Show?
So I went from intern to producer in about 8 months. And then after about 8 months, I got the opportunity to produce my own show. And then I got promoted to producer in under a year. And then I produced an entire season on top of. So I went from intern to associate producer in a couple of months. Then I was an associate producer for about a year. Then I was a producer for about a year. And then I produced the start of a third season. And then I moved to Hollywood.
Okay. Well, now, I mean, the appearance when you watch the show on the air, though, I mean, it was just like wild, out of control, kind of like wrestling. Was it like that behind the scenes when you had these guests come in and as they started kind of interacting with each other and stuff like that? Was backstage filtering over to what you're seeing on camera?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and there were a lot of blurry lines there. When your guests were going crazy on stage, you were also jumping backstage. I mean, you could see what was happening. And when the audience was getting involved, we loved that.
Yeah.
And I think it's similar with wrestling, right? The crowd makes the show.
It does, yeah.
Yep, they do. Well, what's the wildest behind-the-scenes story from producing? Well, I better ask, were there ever any episodes that never made it to the TV?
Great question. Yes, I thought I would lose my job that day. To be honest, yeah. I mean, it's not a small budget you're playing with, and sometimes your guests do things that are unexpected. Right? Yeah. That's the magic. Yeah. And no matter how many times you tell them that it's a television show and they have to explain why they're upset before they go out there, they are going to ultimately do whatever they want when they hit that stage. And I was young. I was 21 when I got a job on that show. And it was like babysitting adults. So, yeah, I definitely had guests that went out there and just would knock somebody clean out of their chair. And I was like, they told me they were going to explain why they were upset first.
Oh, is there one particular show that years later you can think of and bust out laughing?
I mean, some of my shows have resurfaced on YouTube. I actually found one called The Springer Showdown, which I titled. I'm very proud of that. I was from Kentucky, so I did a lot of plays on kind of like Kentucky style titling, like, Riled Up and Ready, The Springer Showdown, Down and Dirty on Springer. Like those are kind of some of the ones I came up with. But yeah, The Springer Showdown was this story of these two girls from LA, and it was honestly just a hate your mate. It was a sister-in-law hated the wife. And I think that show went, like that one story went half the show. It was crazy. And there was real hate there where they had restraining orders against each other in their own towns. Wow. So the fact that we gave them an opportunity to face off, it went wild.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for watching The Clash. And Jeff, the holidays aren't too far away. You do know that, right?
I've heard that, yeah.
And you're not one of those people that waits till the last minute, are you?
No, I'm ahead of the game.
You're ahead of the game?
Yeah.
And I bet you our audience is ahead of the game. And I know that I don't want to buy junk. I want to buy something good, something that's entertaining, something that will keep my attention. I mean, just something that's pretty good. And would you know about anything?
I do. I'm aware of a cornucopia of gifts that are available for our audience to pick up. That's why I use the word cornucopia.
I love that word. Yeah.
And I would suggest that they visit DixonOnDisney.com. Mm-hmm. That's a great place to start. And from there, you get sent to all sorts of different places. But, it's funny you mentioned that. I've written 5 novels. Awesome. I have 2 nonfiction Disney books that are out there. I have a novella. Now, a novella is a book that wants to be a novel when it grows up. Yeah. But it's a lot shorter because it doesn't take as long to write. All that's out there. All that's available. Again, as I said, a cornucopia. DixonOnDisney.com. Love for you to come. Love for you to shop. Tell your family. Tell your friends. And buy gifts for those people that you really love. Because if you really love them, you'll buy from that website. And if you don't love them, well, You won't. Quick follow-up to that, though. In the grand scheme of life, as you go back and watch that show, I mean, to a viewer, it seemed like Jerry Springer as a person really was just trying to kind of rise above the mayhem that was happening. That ultimately, I mean, he's creating his show, but he came across a lot of times as just a very nice person, and really kind of just almost like we were as an audience. We're all watching this unfold together, and we can't believe it. Is that how he really was?
Honestly, yes. And I love that you picked up on that. I mean, he was such a mensch. Like, really, he would go out there, and the funniest part is when he would get like all nervous with his cue card or just look at them like seriously. And you're like, what is Jerry going to say to this? This is going to be funny. He was just witty, and, he's a boomer. He's from a different generation, had like those old man funny things to say.
Yeah, I work with Chris, so I understand those things. Who's just as old as I am, so there you go. So
people often debate if the drama on the Jerry Springer show was real or scripted. Now, from your insider perspective, how much was authentic chaos versus produced for TV?
Right. I mean, Jerry even says it himself. Like, the stories were real, but then the reactions were embellished. So, we, like in wrestling, we rile people up.
Yeah.
They got to the studio 6 hours before they hit the stage. So, they knew how it was going to unfold. But then there's always like the adrenaline rush of kind of being on stage and then the audience participating. I mean, you saw the audience would pick on certain guests. And we had to kind of prepare them for that. We were like, look, if they have something to say to you, like, you're doing a good job, you have to stick to that role, right? There's always the good guy, bad guy. There's always the heel, and you can't switch to the other role.
Right. That's fun. Well, I want to shift gears a little bit and move from Springer. Let's get into the podcast world a little bit.
I'm not through with Springer.
Oh, you're not? Okay, no. Well, okay. Go ahead. You finish with Springer then. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I got a couple. You once shared a lesson about not trying to make guests something that they're not.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about a time that backfired or succeeded on the show?
Yeah, like, you've seen the guests who are just like over the top and like so confident, and they just are like, I don't care if you like me or not. I'm, this way, and here it is. And the crowd loves those kinds of guests. But then you get somebody who's just like quiet or quirky or kind of different. And that's interesting too, but you can't make them like the other guest. And sometimes when you have a show with one guest who's the first kind of way and the crowd goes wild for them, you're like, I want to repeat that. And so when I was a young producer, sometimes I would be like showing, guests an example of the one before. And you just can't make somebody what they aren't. It doesn't play out right. And, it makes somebody uncomfortable, and then it makes them inauthentic. And I tried to do that for sure. You learn by trying to do that. Yeah. You're like, okay, don't do that again.
Yeah. Well, Jerry Springer himself was actually a guest on your podcast. I mean, how did it feel to kind of flip that script and interview your boss from a couple of decades ago?
It was honestly one of the most rewarding things that I've done, and one of the most validating interviews that I've ever done. I mean, can you imagine? It was almost like interviewing your hero. It was funny because I was 21 years old when I got the job on his show, and he was like, oh my God, I remember you when you were a baby. Yeah. And looking back even at those photographs, I was a baby. And to just be able to reconnect with him, having worked on other TV shows and made it to Hollywood, and being able to use that as kind of a stepping stone in my career, and to thank him and him validating my idea with my dad, it felt God sent. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. After I got off that interview, I was like, wow, God, you really gave me this. Thank you.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Okay.
Thank you for
I
those
just-
very thoughtful questions. Those were great questions, Chris. I
Yeah.
really appreciate that.
Well, I wanted to start talking about Better Call Daddy, which is the podcast. And unique title. Tell us about the genesis of that. Where did the idea come from? How did that get started? The concept itself.
Very sweet question, too. Thank you. To be honest, it's a bit of a tribute to Jerry. I had a love for wild and crazy stories, and I've kept in touch with a lot of those people along the way. And I thought, wow, some of these unique relationships that I have with people that have worked in Hollywood or, been guests on my show or just once you tell people that you work on Springer, you'd be surprised how many Springer stories come your way. So I was like, hey, I can interview people like that. And then my dad could weigh in with the final thought. I'm like, he's always wanted his own show. He's a quirky, funny guy with lots to say. So that was my idea is like, I'm my dad's daughter. My dad is my biggest supporter. I'll do the interview. I have the technical know with how to put together a show. And then I'll have my dad who won't back out on me do the final thought.
Yeah.
That's fun. That is fun. Was there a moment as you were putting it together, as you kind of get started in it, was there a moment that it kind of just dawned on you that, okay, this works? I mean, it clicked, the idea that you knew you really had an idea that was because it is a unique concept. I mean, most folks don't invite their parents on to kind of give that final thought or to kind of summarize the interview, if you will. I mean, was there a moment that it just, this is going to work. This is going to be great.
It definitely took more than 50 episodes. I feel like the first 50 episodes are just like getting over the imposter syndrome.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. And the perfectionism piece of I worked in Hollywood. This needs to be great. But actually, people who are producers and editors and create content, getting on the mic and telling your story and interviewing people and hashing out your own format, it takes time.
Yeah.
So I would say I probably wasn't even 100% sure of the format, and I'm still constantly iterating. Yeah. Even now, I'm like, is my music too long? My kids have grown up. Should I update the transition lines? Then you look at like drop-off time. You're like, okay, people usually listen to 30 or 40 minutes. Maybe I should cut it down. So you're constantly reworking things. And it's evolved over 4 seasons now.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I could say, okay, this is working, but opportunities have definitely come from it.
Okay.
And clients have come from it, and my dad is still having fun with it. So I think I'm onto something.
Okay, good, good.
Well, this is kind of piggybacking on Jeff. After years in high drama TV, like Court TV, Nanny 911, what made you pivot to launching, Better Call Daddy, and now it's grown to where you have over 350 episodes, something like that. That's amazing.
Even more. Add another 100 to that.
Oh, wow, yeah. 450. Oh, wow.
450, and I've probably interviewed close to 500 people now. So
wow.
It's been quite a journey. It's amazing. It's been one of the most meaningful things I've done in all of my work. So Hollywood has changed, as you know.
Yeah.
And I left Hollywood, got married, kind of inched my way back into Hollywood through working on some projects. Like I got into finding stories for Court TV while my kids were in preschool. It was something I could do while I was dropping them off for 4 hours a day. It's funny because I interviewed for Judge Alex when I lived in LA as a post-production supervisor, but they ended up giving it to an editor who wanted to be a post-production supervisor, but they flew me from LA to Houston to interview for that job. And then when I ended up moving back to my hometown of Kentucky for a few years, my husband got a job in my hometown, and then we moved from Kentucky to Chicago. Judge Alex was looking for stringers. And so I had a contact that I kept in touch with in LA, shout out to Hedda Muscat, and I ended up casting for her on 5 seasons of Judge Alex. And then that turned into her needing help on Hot Bench and America's Got Talent and Divorce Court. And it was just, it was crazy. I got in with the clerks in these small claims courthouses, and I got all their cell phone numbers. And then you're like, are there any other shows there? Do you have a stack of cases? I started becoming friends with them. And that's how I was able to get the best stories and get them before any of the other shows. So that's how I inched my way back into kind of Hollywood and working in production. But how I started my own podcast was I connected with a guy on LinkedIn, and at first I was helping him with casting. He was like, "Hey, Reena, I know with your casting background, you could probably find me some better guests." And then he was like, "Would you ever want to co-host the show?" And he kind of got me excited about the medium and showed me how easy it could be to start a podcast. And that was already like 7, 8 years ago. His name is Greg Johnson. I was on a show called Next Level People. It was him, honestly. He was a recruiter, and he had a podcast with another recruiter, Sean Hervey. And they wanted to kind of expand who they were interviewing. So at first I started getting them people in the recruiting industry. Then it was like authors. Then it was like, okay, I just know fascinating people. And once I started giving them guests and their numbers started increasing, then they asked me if I would ever be interested in co-hosting the show. So I co-hosted probably 15 or 20 episodes for them. Then some of the guests that I ended up booking them, other podcasters started reaching out to me and saying, hey, I'm interested in some of those guests too. So then I ended up working for a couple podcasters. And then once I saw, I was like, wow, some of these podcasters are getting 500,000 listens a month. I was like, wow, if I'm booking them those types of guests, maybe I should create my own show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. When you go through an interview and you get done and your dad kind of gives the last word on it. I mean, I know what my father was like when he was alive, and one of the things I loved about him was the fact that I never knew what he was going to say.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes what he would say would just leave me slack-jawed. And so tell me a little about daughter-daddy relationship here. Do you ever have to, let's re-edit that, Dad. Let's do that a little bit different. I mean, how often does that kind of happen, or how often do you just get caught off guard completely and surprised by what he says and his take on what you've done?
What a beautiful question. Thank you. I love that. There have been stories where I'm like, Dad, I think you need to sleep on this one.
Okay.
And also there have been guests that my dad thinks would be good. And I'm like, Dad, I think you need to just stick to the reactions. and also there have been times where I am surprised by my dad's reaction. I am impressed by my dad's reaction. We've also covered subjects that I never thought we would cover. So that's been really interesting.
What are you doing Christmas Eve?
I'm glad you asked. And, our folks here could join us. If you are in the Central Florida area, join us here at the Church at 434 in Winter Springs at 7 o'clock, Christmas Eve night for a candlelight service. It's outside under the stars. And if you can't be with us, go to touchandchange.net. or the Church at 434 app, or you can find us on Facebook, and we're streaming live, and we would love to have you join us from 7 to 8 o'clock. We'll see you on Christmas Eve. Chris, I was just thinking while we take a break here in the show, wouldn't it be nice if you could go somewhere and shop and get high-quality merchandise that would have a lasting impact? Wouldn't that be good?
I think that would be absolutely awesome.
Well, I've got a suggestion for you, because what is your favorite saying?
Don't tap out.
Look at that. How about a Don't Tap Out
Holy
t-shirt?
smokes,
And look at the
don't tap
logo
out.
on the back.
What's on the back? The Clash.
That's one of my favorite shows.
It's on my top list too.
And people could go and buy this from our store. Now you say, how do you get to the store? Well, right now there's a QR code on the screen. If they use that QR code, they can go and they can buy, name something. We'll see if they can buy it there. What do we want to buy?
Probably, I want to get a long sleeve hoodie.
You know what? You can get a long sleeve hoodie there.
Really?
Yeah, and you know what else? If you had a baby tomorrow, you could get Clash baby gear at that same store. Yep, you can get that. All of it's available at the Clash store. So if you haven't been to the Clash store, you're one of the few people in America that hasn't been there yet.
Yeah.
And so check it out. Buy our stuff. It makes us money. It makes us happy.
Yeah.
Okay. Go to the Clash store. Yeah.
Well, guests often say that they overshare on your show.
Yeah.
And what is your secret to creating that safe, organic space for raw storytelling.
You guys really did your homework. How do you create a space where people overshare? That is a great question. Honestly, it's oversharing too. No, I mean, yeah. I mean, getting to know people before you hit record. Like you and I have been connected for 4 years. That's why you're asking such great questions and that you know so much about me. I think the key to great interviews is actually keeping in touch with people and having a relationship with them in the car ride over, in the car ride home, texting people. It's actually getting to know them where it doesn't feel like you're just having an interview.
Okay. All right.
Well, now let's so our audience knows, and because they'll go digging for this. You actually have interviewed Chris Whaley on this show, right?
I have.
So here's the real question I've been waiting for almost a half hour to ask you. I mean, what kind of interview is he really? I mean, did he shock you? Was he stunning? Did you get him to say some deep dark secret that we've never eked out on this show, or was it
My
just?
My dad actually said he was a 10-star guest, and Chris even beforehand. Yes, Chris even beforehand said, "How can I be a 10-star guest?"
Nice.
Yes, and he definitely delivered.
Well, this is why this show works, because he's a 10-star guy over here.
He
no
is.
doubt.
He is. And my dad said he would have him back on, and that's the thing.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Well,
that's good.
Okay.
Well, who has been, Chris aside, what has probably been, at least if I would say, what's the most memorable show you've ever done? If one just pops into your mind, that kind of is the gold standard for the show, what would it be?
Well, not only Jerry, because that I feel like was honestly one of my most memorable, but also Cher, one of my Jerry Springer guests who I've kept in touch with for over 20 years. I don't know any other producers that have done that. Yeah, it's funny. I have kept in touch with some of my guests. I feel like most producers just shoved them in the limo and said their goodbyes.
Sure.
But that was something that I even feel like I struggled with on the show, is like from week to week, just like never talking to people again. That's why I think, and I've even proven with this podcast that, I've done 450 to probably 500 interviews because I actually really am interested in people and relationships.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Well, we've come to the end of time. Yeah, I've got a half page.
I got pages here. I got pages
of
stuff
bunch
here.
of pages here. Maybe we can have her back.
If she wants to come back,
If she wants to come back, maybe we'll have her back. But hey, it's been so great having you, and thank you so much again for giving us your time. Any final thoughts before we sign off, Jeff?
No, I mean, just let our folks know how they can find you. I mean, how they can find the podcast. What's the easiest way to interface with that?
The easiest way to interface with that is either on Spotify or Apple, Better Call Daddy. I am on social media at Reena Friedman Watts, pretty much on every social media platform, bettercalldaddy.com. And I just want to say thank you so much. You guys are both truly professionals, and I can tell that you did your research, and you're just so down to earth and so great together. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, let me encourage our audience as well. I mean, I go via Spotify. That's how I find it. So, but it's easy to find, and you'll love it. You'll have a great time.
Yep. Hey, we appreciate so much all of you joining us. I know this was a different kind of interview. I don't think we interview professional wrestlers and we've interviewed some crazy people, but to have Reena was a real...
And she's sane. She's a sane person. We're finally getting the sane people.
Yeah.
So, it's good.
She came out of insanity and she's
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
I feel like I just got in the ring.
Well, God bless you, folks. I can't wait to be back with you next week. And remember, don't tap out.